Well, guys, we've obviously been talking about the big moves that happened not only over the last couple of days, but over the last week or so. And one of the biggest, both in terms of the name involved and sheer volume of things going back and forth, was pulled off by our next guest, Tom Fitzgerald, GM of the New Jersey Devils, joining us on the Athletic Hockey Show. Thanks so much for doing this at a crazy time for you, Tom. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no problem, guys. It is crazy busy. And the war room is heating up. A lot of arguments, a lot of debates, a lot of what do we need and what about this guy and what are you willing to give up? And we'll have no draft picks if we keep doing this. And so, it's fun. It's fun at times being around the staff because it's easy for them to just start giving everything away to be good. But, our staff's passionate about where we're at. It's fun. And, they haven't had much impact the last few years because all we did was sell off. And here we are. We're potential buyers moving forward as well.
Well, we're obviously going to talk about the Meier deal and everything else, but I got to ask you the same question we asked Jim Nill a couple of weeks ago. We asked Ben Hankinson, the player agent, last week. Is 2023 going to be the year we look at when deadline day, and I emphasize day, officially is just erased from our lexicon, and it is deadline weeks or month? Because it used to be, 2:55 Eastern time, all these trades come in. It seems as though so much has happened in the last couple of weeks. What's deadline day going to be this year? And if it is dead, what do you think is the main reason for it?
Well, I think I'd be definitely in favor of moving the deadline up. You look at the NBA and where their deadline's at. I think the public and maybe the media and people who aren't coaches or players might not understand really what it takes to understand a new system. Being dropped into the deep end with a new team, and you can ask any NHL coach, start a camp. Teams are learning a new system, or you're teaching that system. It takes 20 games before it really clicks. So that's why when people say, well, let's evaluate our team after 20 games, it's because everybody's up running on the same page. So when you talk about dropping, new players into, new systems, for us anyway, our D-zone coverage is different than the majority of teams. It takes time. I've got guys that we brought in this summer that it's just finally clicking, But with that being said, I think that's part of why teams get ahead of the day. People always say you're probably going to get your best offer, your best acquisition on the 11th hour. But you know what? Sometimes you might roll the dice and you may not. So maybe you get your best deal done a week ahead or plus. But I do think, again, I'd be very interested in moving the deadline up. Even a month would be great for me personally.
Fitzy, let's talk about Timo Meier. What made him the guy that you focused on in this deadline, and how tough were those negotiations? Because obviously you weren't the only team going after him.
Yeah, well, Timo, I think his resume, speaks for itself. He's a presence out there. He's a big body. He can skate. Real good hand, shoots the puck. He's a goal scorer. He gets to the net. He's tough to move out from the net front, holding on to pucks in the corners, the dirty areas he gets to. So, the player itself is one thing, but when you look at the age, the control, and then you think about adding that to your current group, it just made too much sense not to do this. So, negotiations were long and they were lasting hours, and just tire kicking, and then framing of a deal, and then tightening up that framework, and then trying to handicap the competition, who we're reading through the media, and try to figure out, we do have a good chance at something like this because of our prospect pool. And I told Mike, Greer, this, I'm not going to apologize for a really strong prospect pool. So whether it's player A or E, we may consider those A players, and they're important pieces to our organization moving forward. So Mike Greer was great to work with. He just is very, very thorough. He did his due diligence, listened to his team. And then obviously, like any good manager, you play one offer up against the other, and you just keep squeezing.
You mentioned the age and the control. how big of a factor was that? Because you look at a lot of the top guys that are available at the deadline, and they're over 30 and they're pending UFAs. And you mentioned you're kind of just starting your window of winning with this team. How important was it to add someone not just for this run, but for the next few runs?
Very important. If you're going to give up those type of assets, you want to at least control him a couple years, and we do with Timo. So, but the goal here is to extend him. The goal is for him to fall in love with New Jersey. The on ice product, the players, the age group, the living. I've said this over and over again. If you don't live here, you don't understand it. You don't know it, but it's a hidden gem. It really is. Somebody from the West Coast comes in. I mean, we're in our bed every night. Anytime we play an Eastern Conference team at 1 a.m, at the very least. The airport's 10 minutes away with one-stop shopping with practice facility, game facility. There's a lot to like. A couple bus trips for games. It's just we travel the least out of every NHL team other than the neighbors here. So there's just a lot to sell, and that's our goal. Is when he comes here, he's going to fall in love with it and understand it. That Newark to Zurich is nonstop. 5.5 hours, so more family over for him. So a lot of good.
Tom, the East is an absolute train wreck to get through. I mean, you've got so many teams that easily could find themselves one of the last two teams standing. And Timo Meier, to me, was the big fish in this deadline period. All that being said, what does this say to your team? I mean, obviously, any team would love a Timo Meier, but what does this say to your team that their GM went out and got the biggest name available to gear up for such a tough road ahead as far as the playoffs go?
Well, first, the East it's going to be a gauntlet. You look at the potential matchups now, the additions that every team in the East is doing, we're adding. So we know that, but our window isn't just 1 year. It's not just this year. We believe we've got a 10-year run. And again, that's what we're trying to sell Timo on. He can be part of something for a long, long time, especially with the prospects that we do have coming, to add to this already core, our pillars, and having Timo be part of those pillars. So, what it says to our team, I think it tells them, this is a reward for them, but more of, we believe in them. We believe that, hey, why not us? Like, why can't we be a team that goes and has a Cinderella run? Because we do have the talent. We don't have the experience. That's why I brought in guys like Poile and Dougie Hamilton and Smith and Holla. These guys have experience in the playoffs. So Timo does too as well. So we think it's an applaud to them, but also our fan base deserves this. They deserve to continue to see us add, to get excited, not just for this spring, of many springs ahead.
Fitzy, the conditions on the draft picks in your trades, I probably read it about 10 times and I still didn't really totally understand it. How the heck do you negotiate those conditions? Who does it? How do you even broach that? And do you know them by heart?
Well, you know what, when you're framing a deal, I won't get into specifics, and certain players are asked, and then you weigh would this player be more valuable than, say, a draft pick? So then you introduce the draft pick piece versus another prospect, but maybe a roster player instead, and then a draft pick piece that has the chance to move up the total pool with our success. That's always an attraction to teams, the what ifs. And I think that was really attractive to Mike. And then you start working on those, okay, the conditions of this and that. At the end of the day, we wanted Timo Meier. And I'll go back to what I said earlier. We believe we can sell Timo Meier to sign here long term. And that's our goal. So giving up an extra first to go to, a conference final. I think those are small peanuts if you're, because again, the big fish is playing with you.
Tom, just along those lines, before you jumped on the line with us, we were joking about the times when it was very much the norm, the coach / GM who did both jobs. And I look at this deal you pulled off to get Timo Meier, and Mike just alluded to it. Like he's read it 10 times and it's still crazy. How many people are involved in a trade this big. How many people did you talk to before that final, the deal is pulled off and sent to the league? Because it is just so complicated that I couldn't imagine someone doing this and then saying, well, I got to go to practice downstairs at the same time.
Yeah, it's all in. When you're a manager versus let me have my assistant take over the administrative stuff, and I'm going to go and blow a whistle. I kind of feel like I'm a hybrid too, because I'm always down in the coach's room and going through strategy with them. And but it's difficult. So my team, obviously David Blitzer and Tad Brown, our CEO, David, our one of our owners with Josh Harris. They've given me, carte blanche to get deals done. We're very transparent, and we keep them up to speed with, where things are going. My team consists of my assistant managers, my personnel guys, my cap guy, Marty Brodeur, is the VP of hockey up. So I've got a team of 5 or 6 that are in my core of, listen, every Monday, started in January, every Monday on a call or in person, and that went to a couple times a week, just to keep everybody afloat on what was going on. And then you start going into the pieces, and really what the values are and how you can the most important thing to us was, protecting certain players in our organization. But like I said earlier, we felt we have many assets. I can't keep them all, but we draft them, they're assets. We develop them, they're assets. They're either going to play here or they're going to be moved on for people who are going to come and play here. And that's what we do.
You've obviously put in a lot of work over the last few years to build up that prospect pool, and that's kind of the meat and potatoes of the management and the scouts and everything. But how much, just on a personal level, how much fun is it to get to this point in where the franchise is that now you're buying at the deadline and you're trying to win? Just kind of transitioning from that acquiring assets and building to now we're trying to win.
To be honest with you, my mentor, Ray Shero, brought me here and sold me on that. Sold me on, the fun of building. But first, we've got to do this to gain those assets to help us move forward. So his strategy and his plan from the get-go was bang on, and I was fortunate enough to continue on with that. But yeah, it's a fun place to be at. Now really we're managing expectations versus, okay, what else do we need and what are we going to give? You just said it. We feel we've got a strong, prospect pool. And I'm not talking about like the first tier. There's good players in the second tier, even in the third tier. Can those players get us, something that gives us some depth on the back end or depth up front? That's what we're going through right now. But you trying to utilize those pieces to improve is my job.
Fitzy, I still remember being on a payphone in South Florida with you in the late 90s when you became the first captain of the Nashville Predators. David Poile announced the other day that he's retiring. Your coach, Barry Trotz, is now going to be the next GM. What did David Poile mean, one, to the sport, but to that organization? And similarly, how do you think Barry Trotz will do now that he is leaving the whistle behind?
Well, first, both Barry and David hold a strong place in my heart. We're linked forever. The first GM of the Predators, first coach of the Predators, and the first captain of the Predators. So both are mentors of mine. David more so on the management side, and Barry was great to me, and kind of probably was the guy who allowed me to be an extension of the coaching staff as the captain, to really think about his coaching in my future. But David's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. I think in a lot of people's opinion, you can't stay in this business for as long as he has if you're not successful. And people want to define success as winning a cup, and that's wrong. Every year he's had a competitive team. He built up the Nashville Predators. He built up that brand, for the league and for that city. He means everything to the Nashville Predators. So I do think he's a Hall of Famer. We talked the other day, maybe I could be his last ever trade. I'm going to give him a call and see if that's possible. But with Barry too, I'm actually lucky, as a young manager, I go to these GM meetings. I've got Lou Lamorello, who's also a mentor. He was at Providence with me. He was my AD on the right. And I had David Poile, my mentor from Nashville, on my left. So Barry will be next to me, and maybe I can help him along with some experience as well.
By the way, you keep on saying, you're trying to determine what you need. What do the Devils still need to, keep up with all these other teams in the East that are just making move after move after move?
I think anybody would say continue to create some depth in the organization, whether it's on the back end, whether it's up front, the different styles of depth. You want to be able to play any type of game for any type of matchup, but you can never have enough depth. And we'll talk about maybe there's a goalie piece up there that we should consider too, just in case. Especially after what we went through last year with using 7 goalies, you just don't know. So that's all. Listen, I firmly believe you build your team in the summer, and they grow together through training camp. You grow through a system, like I said. You kind of evaluate where you're after 20 games. They get comfortable. Adding pieces is a necessity as well to win. But really, how much should you add? And like I said, I'm not getting caught up with the whole. We got Timo. We're the third best team in the league at this point. But this isn't our window. It is a window. It's just starting. It's not it's a pretty big window. So, you know what? I trust the players that we have. I trust that what we've done this year is not a coincidence, and I believe in the coaches to continue to drive, our team to play the right way each and every night.
Last one before we let you go, Tom. I know you said you love the build. It is fun. You love tinkering. But at 3:01 Eastern time when you're done, how much of an exhale is that? What do you do for one day just to say, okay, this is done? Is there a beverage of choice? Do you go out for dinner? Do you kind of go, okay, now this is the team I get to watch for the rest of the year?
Great question, because it's a different feeling. I'll be honest with you. I'd be fine not doing anything. I trust my team. In the past, you to get to where we're at today, you had to sell players for assets to get here. That's stressful. That's stressful when you get to 2:30 on deadline day. It's something that you just like, oh man, I want to get rid. This will be nowhere near that. I'll be leaving on Friday night to head to the Midwest, participate in my son's parents' weekend out in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and be a dad for Friday and Saturday night. And like I said, enjoy watching my team play and just supporting them. Start working on employee contracts, the draft, college free agents. Go maybe watch some college games, get out and do some scouting. That's where you can just finally take a breath and kind of enjoy the moment.
Well, enjoy it and enjoy being a dad.
Yeah, Fitzy, let me ask you about your other son. Last night I'm watching TV, and there on the bench is Casey Fitzgerald in a Florida Panthers uniform where you had such a great career, got them to the Stanley Cup final with a huge goal in Game 7 in Pittsburgh. How proud are you to see this come full circle where Casey, who's down in Florida as a little baby, is now playing for the Panthers?
It's unique, that. I actually thought we were the first father-son who did it, but I was wrong. The Stillmans were.
Yeah.
So it's just an incredible feeling to just to say we've done that, and he gets to feel what hockey's like in South Florida for however long it is. But no, it's really cool. I'm proud of all my boys. Casey's gone through a tough time this year too. You might say, "Oh, he's in the NHL, it's easy," but no, it's not. When you haven't played a game in 2 months, it's tough. And he's a good player. Like, he knows what kind of player he is. He can help a team. That's tough. You just need your chance. Whether he played 4 minutes or 24, it doesn't matter. Last night I told him, it's like, be proud of this. You've done something that not many ex-Panthers can say their kids did. And it's just special. You can imagine if your son dressed up for a team that you played for. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, we pulled you out of the war room. I have a feeling as soon as you're done with us, you're going right back in there. But thanks for taking some time out to chat with us. Enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy the weekend with your son.
Always a pleasure, guys. Anytime. Take care.